All right, so we're going to be talking about morality again today. This is Everyday Morality. This is episode 2. And today we are going to be talking with a imaginary person as we cannot see him. But could you go ahead and introduce yourself for us?
Hello, my name is Cesar. I'm Latin American. I'm 21 years old, and I basically study in uni and train, and that's all I do.
What do you study at uni?
It's not really a technician. I don't know how to explain it. Essentially, it's just how to administrative part of a restaurant. It's like a
Oh,
2 year
okay.
career.
Gotcha, gotcha. So it's like a restaurant business administration or something like that?
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha.
It's
Cool.
only
Well,
2 years. We just like weeks ago we closed the first semester, and now we are preparing for the second one.
cool. Do you is so you like working in restaurant setting?
I like to cook.
Oh,
That's the
cool.
main thing of it. I study to become a professional chef here in an academy that we have in my country, but because the academy is separated from the how is it called? Uh, coming to me right now.
That's okay.
Department of Education and all of that. It's like a third
Okay.
party of all of that, so it doesn't have a weight, like a real weight compared to a
Oh, it's like
uni
not
diploma.
accredited
It's accredited by the
the state or whatever.
correct.
Okay,
So
cool.
right now I'm studying this to complete and to get out of here because I think you read all the things that happened here yesterday. Okay.
Yeah. He knows when I'm on camera and he likes to make his appearance.
Actually, that's something cats do. They imitate the social like actings of their owners. For example, that's why they like to sleep on top of laptops or keyboards because
Oh,
the owner is always in the keyboard or in the
yeah.
laptop.
He absolutely likes to sleep on my laptop.
That's something cats do. Okay,
That's
so
funny.
that's essentially what I do.
Okay, so I guess the first thing that we're gonna do is uh, what, Keely? Hi. Okay. Um, I guess first of all, do you believe in in right and wrong, that there is a such thing as right and wrong?
Yes, but I don't believe they are like essentially on a single page or a single line. There are multiple degrees of right and multiple degrees of wrong.
Okay.
Because if you kill someone for no reason, you're in the wrong. You're doing something wrong.
Okay.
And if you're simply helping someone for the fact of helping, you're doing something morally right for the most part.
G- gotcha.
There's more. There's multiple levels. It's not the same to give a coin to a poor person that to give your organ to a stranger because he needs a transplant.
So you think there's like there's layers to it.
Yeah, much
Okay.
so.
Would you say that there's some sort of equation um, that properly describes, uh, the levels of right and wrong?
Equation or a specific number? No. I was actually talking this with. I'm friends with a Twitter animator. I'm not going to say his name because he doesn't like the fact that he has many followers.
Uh-huh.
But I was talking with him about something similar, not this. Like when we qualify something, quantify something, we do it with a minimum average and a point in which we believe it's more than enough, a 10 or an A plus, or
Sure,
however you
sure.
want to see it. There's something always above that. For example, a student that studying for an entire month for the test and got an A plus is not the same that the guy that didn't need to study at all and got the A plus just because he's a genius. They are
Okay.
on that threshold, but beyond that threshold, we don't search for anything else. Of like, think about a house. Have many levels.
Mm-hmm.
We always have a ceiling. Whatever is beyond that ceiling, we don't care. We care what's in the house. Whatever is beyond that, it's just speculation or something that we are not searching. We got the minimum and we got the maximum that we want. I believe morality is something like that.
Okay.
I can say something, for example, I won't say someone is not a 10 in quotes of a good person just because Jesus, because of
Okay.
Gandhi, not because they are, for example, the top of the top means that everyone cannot be a 10 just because they're not as good as them.
Sure.
Yeah, I know it's weird. I know it's weird.
No, 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 no. That's fine. I mean, like, when you're thinking about, um, levels of morality in that way. Obviously, there are some. We make judgments. There are some people who are better than others in terms of morality, and I think that's pretty across the board as humans. I don't think that's uncommon.
And I agree with that. The thing that I don't believe is, for example, just because someone is better at something doesn't mean that the other person cannot be qualified as a 10. Because again, we only qualify inside this range, but there's always things outside this range.
Okay, I'm intrigued by this concept of range here. So if you qualify two people as tens, just as as an
For
example,
example, yeah.
but let's say uh, this person is, they have some people are better at other things than other people. Is that to say that no amount, if this 10 got put additional effort into being better than he was, he would still be a 10?
Correct, because the point is to feel the threshold that we have put in. Like
Would
for example, like walking, like making a house, we have a threshold for the height. Whatever is beyond that, we don't care. A threshold for a marathon. Like we run until this point. He can run more, okay, but we already had the points that we wanted.
okay,
It's harder for him to do, yes, but he was able to complete it to this point. We have to qualify it
okay.
inside that.
So you think that there's a limit to how okay. um, basically how good you can be, and then once you get to that point, there's no going beyond it, or are you saying that once, like for instance, if you're a 10 and you get better, you've raised the threshold of what a 10 is, and the guy who was next to you who was also a 10 is now a 9?
Neither. It's really a weird way of seeing it, and I see it in my own form. It's really complicated to explain.
No, that's fine. That's why we're doing
Um,
it.
Let me see how to do it. It's basically that it doesn't matter if they're beyond the threshold because what we perceive as the maximum is already filled in.
Okay. Well, what defines this threshold? Where does that come from?
Personal beliefs. That's as easy as it gets. For example, for me, a 10 will 100% be someone that uh, gets hurt for the sake of saving a person.
Uh-huh.
They, their wife, sons, their cats. That's a 10 for me. But there's people that, what I see more something morally correct, they do more. They sacrifice themselves
Okay.
fully. That's kind of how I see it. That we have like this area in which we perceive, we believe it's a 10, what we believe is a 0, what's below that. What's beyond that is just outside of our spectative, outside of our way of seeing things. For example, most people don't believe a 10 is necessarily someone that is going to kill themselves, save someone. Normally
Okay.
believe a 10 to be, unless we're talking, for example, people that talk about Jesus and things like that. Uh,
Sure.
I believe a 10 is someone that sometimes, for some people, a 10 is only one that is nice to them because of how they've lived up to
So
that
you're
point.
saying that this standard shifts from person to person.
100%.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So we've established that you kind of have this this understanding of right and wrong that seems to at
Many
least
levels
yeah
can
many
go beyond
levels,
that.
and it shifts from person to person. Okay. So where does the idea of right and wrong come from? What does that mean for something to be right? What does it mean for something to be wrong?
There's many answers for that. One of them will simply be the social standing of what does the masses believe, what does the mob do.
Okay.
For example, for most of us, murder is wrong, 100%. And in that society, in that group, uh, obviously murder is going to be morally wrong, no
Sure.
matter what. For example,
So if everybody
let's use
agrees that something is wrong, then it's wrong.
that specific group.
Okay.
Yes,
Wait, when you say
that's
that
the group.
specific group, what do you mean?
Okay, I wanted to leave that for later, but let me
Okay.
explain. I have a
Okay.
vision really weird. I call the stacks of paper.
Okay.
Actually, you have a table. It's divided in multiple parts. And in every part, there are multiple stacks of paper. Every table represents a group, ethnicity, a belief, or something in each person or that we see in society. Every stack of paper represents how we see morally for ourselves, others, and how we apply it. Every single sheet of paper are like different levels. So for example, I don't believe there's a single one, single way of seeing morality for everyone on the planet. I believe every person is going to morally different.
Sure.
Also, inside their groups, is going to be different. For example, let me white supremacist. What's morally correct for him compared to, for example, a Latin American that has a family full of Asians, black people, white people. You can see that there's a different there. There's they
So
are
you're
two
saying,
different groups.
gotcha. So are you saying that there's no such thing as objective morality?
For the most part, I think there is one. It's in a really, really fine line. Again,
Because
wanted to
what
put
basically
for
what you're saying is that morality is determined by the members of groups.
it's
And so you may belong to a group, and you probably belong to several different kinds of groups, and each of those groups would have their own basic understanding of morality. Is that correct? Okay.
and also the
It
situation in which
gotcha.
each group is. Again, because the example that I wanted to give, Michael from Bucky, it's more oral for him. It's a I can say the word in English. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Can you describe it?
It's a only word that I come up with is gorilla.
Do you,
Yes,
oh, the ape?
no, no, pickle.
Oh, pickle.
The yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Pickle, the caveman.
caveman. There we go. Couldn't remember the word. He has in the show a specific sense of what is right, what is wrong, what is honor, because of how he grew up. Also,
Sure.
for us, what is morality for us? If, for example, there's no food, there's no water, we have to survive. There's our morality right now that society is crumbling, not fully, because we still have internet, we still have rights,
Sure.
some people still have jobs. What's morality when we are on the perfect state? Everyone has a job, they're stable, there's not that many fights. That's what I refer with different groups and different points.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because yeah, first morality
Okay.
is defined by the individual, what you believe.
Okay.
Then you have the group having a the group has like a wider idea.
Okay.
Then there's the different groups. The different groups come together, and we have like, for example, a country, just like that,
Yes.
from
Yes.
smaller to bigger to bigger to bigger to bigger. You
Yes.
have the whole world, but again, you can see that because they're
Gotcha.
becoming bigger and bigger, the laws, the morality, and all of that, it becomes more diluted. Because again, I can
Okay.
be
Now, my question here is, if these groups are they disagree about morality between each other. Like, so there's a group that says this is okay, and then a group that says no, this is not okay. How do you determine rightness between those two groups? Because there's obviously a different value judgment between them.
there are two ways that I see this happening or this being actually three, but the third one is not very likely. First one is what happens right now, what is happening right now all over the world. Fight. Go to the most primal way of thinking of whoever wins is the one in the right.
Yeah, might is right.
Right. At the end of the day, that's how we survive. Strong one goes to the top, the weak one, unless he's smart, dies on the ground. A lot of
Okay.
the time. Not always. That's one. Other two, second one, it will be like they just tolerate each other. They don't agree, they agree to disagree.
Okay.
So they go ways to search for this middle point. We're just not touching each other at all. Then the two groups, because of that, because we are talking about groups becoming bigger and bigger,
Sure, sure, sure.
go to the two groups, then uh, like the way they see gets diluted with the other ones, creating another law for the next bigger group. Example, if I say me personally, um, God, I want to go with something so heavy, something simple. Let's go with something ridiculous. Petting a dog is wrong.
Okay. There's
The other
there's some
examples
there's
that I
some cultures
have
that
is,
believe that dogs are unclean, so you know that could work.
for example, in my case, is I respect the dog, so I don't pet it. Let's say and I represent a group. There's another group that says, uh, no, the dog is wrong, but the dogs are unclean. The moment when the group becomes bigger, it's not why it's wrong to pet the dog, it's only don't pet the dog. Basically, it becomes one singular thing without a real reason.
Okay.
I don't do it because of this. I don't do it because of this. I don't do it because of this. Then, when all of that comes together, is I don't do it. I,
Sure.
I don't know. I simply don't do it. And in the case of, for example, like they're contrarians, like no, petting the dog is actually okay. They either fight, both sides come to an understanding that okay, it's okay for them. I don't believe that. I'm gonna go my
Mm-hmm.
way.
Yep.
Then we have like, for example, then again when we go to the bigger group, uh, instead of being either or, it just becomes whatever you want, or you
Okay.
feel like is the correct
So
one, because we are not searching a specific point. We are not going a specific side. We
gotcha.
are
So
zero.
so right now you've been spending a lot of time describing to me um, sort of how morality functions with individuals and groups and whatnot, um, but not so much um, what morality actually is. because these people would have they would have to make judgments about, because you said that if they disagree about something, they can fight, they can agree to disagree, or they can come to some sort of agreement, where like a compromise of some sort. Would are those three options all equal? Are what's preferable? How do you make that judgment?
Oh, okay. Hmm. The only way that I can see how we can make a judgment of doing all of that is by discussing, talking.
Sure.
Video got cut. My signal is dying.
I'm sorry, you kind of cut out.
Ah,
So you think
oh,
that
I
the
can't.
only way that we can decide is but through discussion?
It's by talking. Yeah. My
Okay.
signal is dying right now.
Oh, sorry. Um, okay. So, but what do we use to determine uh, best practice? What do we do to determine what is the most moral decision out of those things? Because it seems to be, based on what I'm hearing, is that it's really just the will of the group.
Of the group, yeah, and the will of the individual.
So the will of the group and the will of the, so in your mind, morality is completely um, like there is no such thing as objective morality, and it's completely subjective from person to person and group to group, and it's solely dependent upon what people think, and I guess whatever their natural inclination is.
Yes,
Okay,
for the most part, yeah.
interesting. So would you say that a group has any grounds to judge another group for what they are doing um, morally? So if let's say that there's a group that you, like we were talking about petting dogs, there's a group that says that it is morally incorrect to pet a dog. They don't really have to give any reasons for it, because if they just have to believe it to be good enough, then that's fine. They just they think that it's morally incorrect to pet a dog, and then there's another group that says that it is perfectly fine to pet a dog, um, and it's actually morally incorrect to not pet the dog. So they are judging the first group because they will not pet a dog. They think they have a moral obligation to pet dogs. Does the second group have any grounds to judge the first group for their lack of dog petting?
Hmm. That's that got me. Let me see. Hmm. If it's only between the two groups, I don't think so. And it depends, because certain degree, uh, I think it's all and the mob rules, the will of the masses. There's more groups that are fighting with them, just that they have the power. It's really hard to try to come up
Gotcha.
with a better
So
explanation.
so what I see here is, and I'm just trying. I'm just pointing out what I see. What you seem to be conflating is and oughts. Does that make? Do you know what that means?
Kind of. I
So
think I have an idea.
you're looking at how things are, and you are saying that that's how they should be. So because they are a certain way, that's how they ought to be. Um, so because people act in a certain way, because they believe certain ways, because they fight over things, the fact that they do those things makes that what they ought to do, because that's what they do.
as long as they don't victimize others, yes.
Okay,
That's what I
why
see.
does okay, cool, 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 cool. Why does that matter?
In the moment you victimize another person, you're infringing every single idea of what makes us individual ideas, our individual ways of thinking. Society is just a result of every single individual,
Sure. But
and
why
every
is it
single individual
wrong?
in a group.
Why is it wrong for me to harm someone else? What if I don't believe that it's wrong for me to harm someone else?
Is it wrong for you to be harmed in that case? I'm trying to piece out my own thoughts too.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of this is for us to dig down and get to the root of what you think morality is. And sometimes we're going to have hard, have to really dig through it. So if I don't believe that it's wrong to harm other people, um, is it wrong for me to do it?
I think it is simply by the fact that
Okay.
in that moment you're thinking about only yourself and your way of seeing things only for yourself, not for others.
Why is that a problem?
You can, because even though I don't believe there's like a universal morality, I do believe there's a universal idea or a universal link between every single type of morality that every single person has.
Okay.
That
So you
goes
go
back
ahead.
to the table thing that I was saying. Table is still one singular table. It's divided in multiple parts, different groups, different people, and different beliefs. It's still a singular table.
So are you saying that um, there's a principle underneath that defines morality?
You got cut. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Are you saying that there's a principle, and I guess the principle would be the table, uh, that defines all morality? Something that you can appeal to decide whether or not something is moral.
Think of it more as a guide,
Sure,
when
that's fine. Yeah, that
because you
a guide is fine.
because it's there. Follow it. The way you follow it is different.
What do you mean?
There's like a way we think, a way we start to develop our morality. The way we do it is different for every single one of those, but we all follow
Okay.
that individually, and then we come as a group.
But
Really
what? So
weird. I'm
what's the
sorry.
guide?
In a life,
I'm sorry. Say again.
just the guide for me. I know it's weird. It's just the fact that we are alive.
That we're
We
alive.
go through.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So, how does me being alive? How can I use that as a guide to help me make moral decisions?
it's it's just thus. It's because you go with this guy, keep walking in the process of keep going with it, start to do things, you start to learn things, you start to grow, you start to get older, stronger or weaker. And that part of the journey, because we are alive, we are making the journey, because the journey is different for every single one. That is creating our morality. It's
Sure,
not.
of course,
That's why
of
it's
course, it creates our
universal.
individual morality, but we're not necessarily. But once again, we're not talking about what actually does happen. We're talking about what is ought to be the case. Is there something that is because basically, so far I've taken that there's really no such thing as morality. It's just what people individually believe. And at the end of the day, it is really just whoever's the strongest, and there's no actual morality. Is that correct?
Strongest or the smartest?
So yeah, I mean, like you win.
A certain point, I don't really like the idea, but it does fit with what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
do think
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. That
Okay.
it
So that's what.
is to a certain point the strength, but there's also the strong. Anyways, if he wins, gets the prize. But this is really, this is harder
Oh,
than
of
I
course.
thought it would be.
Examining our ideas is always harder than we think it's going to be.
The winner sometimes is not happy with winning.
Okay,
That's what
that's
I'm trying to
interesting.
see. Sometimes we have the idea and we win the idea. The result is not really what we ought to be, or simply we are not happy. The fact that
Do you have an
we won.
example?
Example of that. There's actually one that it's really funny and it's real. Creator of the Mother's Day
Okay.
won because she, in her view of life, others should be celebrated, right?
Okay.
You know what happened a few years later
No.
after she made that? Tried to cancel it. But so fed up with the fact that people were celebrating their mothers, tried to stop it from happening again. I wasn't happy with the way that it ended. Became more like more of a market thing
Yeah.
instead of a
She didn't like the
proper
way that it was
link.
going.
She won, not what she wanted. Just the result is was not what she wanted. Because
Sure.
sometimes the winner thinks that the end result is going to be a certain way. The result changes because every single person that is going through again the path guide that we were talking about is different for every single one. The winner can have a specific idea of the ending result. Because the result is being applied to every single different person with a different way of thinking, the result can also be different what they were expecting.
Okay. Now, how does that play into morality? Um, how does that make any? Yeah, I guess what relation does that have to do, like, with morality?
We were talking that morality comes from the strongest, and so they win.
Sure.
But if they
So
win, they're not happy and they try to change it again, changing again
sure.
morality. But now there's another person that is also strong that goes against that. That's the constant conflict.
Yeah. So it's
Morality
still,
can
but it's still just strength versus strength. It's not because if I am the strongest, if no one can, like, harm me and I can do whatever I want, um, is it wrong for me to kill somebody? I'm the strongest. Like, I can't lose. Is it?
against
And
no one
I
and no
and
group.
it, against no one, no group. I'm Hanma Yujiro. I'm a monster. Is um, you know, and I enjoy the destruction. Is it wrong for me to partake in that destruction? Is it wrong for me to kill?
But this is is really fascinating to do. It's the first time that I've had a discussion of this
Oh,
type.
well, I encourage it because it allows us to be able to really understand our own thoughts and find the thoughts that are bad, like not logically coherent. So yeah, I mean, you can think about it for a second. If you have an answer, go for it. We'll delve into that answer a little bit and see where it leads us. It can even be your first inclination. Is it wrong for me to kill somebody if I enjoy it and I have the capability of doing it?
For me, it is simply because killing someone with
Well,
no
I don't care.
reason.
I don't care about whether or not it's to you. I'm talking about me.
For you, it's okay, and I honestly
Okay.
can't stop you. It's just simply the way that it is. It's how the power works. None of us can. You can wish to kill any dictator or any of that because we believe we are correct in our way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We have the
But
power. We can't
but we
stop them.
but can we even really be correct in our way of thinking if it's really just about power and strength? Is there a such thing as correct thinking? Does it even matter at all?
Does it matter? I think it does. There's a universal one. No, again, no. I don't believe there's a universal way of
If
thinking. It's not that universal way of seeing things or a universal way of fighting. Because again, for the Hama Jujo thing, can stop you. You're the one on the power. As much as everyone wants to fight you back, no one can stop you.
yeah.
For you, it's not really wrong, but for everyone, it is. You're the guy. You're the one at the top, and to do anything. Most what we
So
can try
if
to do
you
is
know,
to change the way you see it, not with a fight, but with a discussion, kind of like
gotcha.
Baki did with his mentality of
Sure.
Ichiro's at the end of
Okay,
the fight.
let's think about that then. Because if obviously they can't win against me physically, they want to change my way of thinking. How do they go about changing my way of thinking to convince me to not harm them?
First will be to talk about it, try to understand where the that point of view comes from.
I want to.
There's you just want to do it because you
I just
want.
want to.
There's
Yep, I just want to.
little that you can do.
Okay.
Most what you can do is try to defeat the expectative that the person has. For example, you just want to do that thing, but the point comes that you're not satisfied. You can't feel anything again, and you think, "What's the point?" That's at most what I think we can do.
Gotcha. So
At most,
you don't think that we could appeal and be like, hey, you should probably stop doing this because it hurts people, or you should probably stop doing this because it's wrong. We can't we, I mean, we could say those things, but um, can we actually say those things? Because it's not wrong. If there's no such thing as right and wrong, and it's just what people want to do, and it's based on strength, there really is no such thing as right and wrong. And to even talk about it is nonsensical.
yes,
And that's okay if you think that. There's plenty of people who are not moral nihilists.
that's
I
the
just
problem because I do believe there is a bit of right and wrong. Just think the levels are different. I just don't know how to say it.
okay.
Just
Then we
again,
need to dig and see what that little bit where that sense of right and wrong comes from. Because if we can identify what that principle is, then we can expand that to other types of action to be able to determine what is right and wrong based on that principle.
just be survival, honestly. The fact that we
Really?
want to survive and keep going, yeah. That's how it was born to a certain degree when we started to evolve into humans right now.
Okay, keep going. I'm
Wanted to
liking where this is
survive.
going.
Wanted to survive as a group. The moment we saw, okay, the fights are not really working because everyone was on equal footing. Let's discuss. Let's work together and try to keep
Okay.
the things that we don't like with each other separated.
So
Our group.
why did we decide to do that? Why did we decide to stop killing each other and work together?
It's the most basic instinct of any living being: survival.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but why did we decide? Because, like, I could just keep killing people and survive. Like, why did I stop doing that to work together?
Because it's easier.
It's easier to what?
It's easier to simply not fight. It's easier to not fight. It's easier to simply talk with people that doing them.
So what you're saying is correct me if I'm wrong, it is safer and more effective for my survival to cooperate with other people.
The most part, yeah. For
Okay.
example, I'm not a doctor. I need to cooperate with the doctor at my medicines or whatever, my treatments. I'm not. I can barely drive a car. Trust, I put my
Okay.
trust in the taxi driver or the Uber
Okay.
driver that he's going to do his job.
No,
Because
I
he's
love
going
it. I
to
love
do
it.
it.
I love it. I love it. All right, we've established your base value, which is survival.
Survival and
Using
happiness.
using using that value, we can then extend that concept to other actions to determine whether or not they are moral. Because if it has to do with survival, then we can make a decision that is more or less moral, determining about the basis of survival. So, for instance, it is not moral for me to kill someone else, because why?
Not wrong because it can be easier having them, or simply more effective, having them do something that you can't. Again, we go to the
Okay,
example of Yujiro Hanma. Yujiro Hanma was the strongest man in the world, the strongest thing in the world. No one can stop him, can kill everyone. Bastard can cook. He was making imaginary soup and failed to do that.
okay, you got me. That was oh, that was funny. Oh God. Okay, yeah. No, no, that's good. So he's restraining. You restrain yourself, for your own benefit.
Yeah, we always search our own benefits. Even when we have a relationship, believe us, it's only because we love each other. No, that's not fully true. Yeah, love is a thing. We feel love for other people, but you always get something out of our relationship. You get love, you
Okay.
get hugs, happiness, all of that, and that's what makes the relationship.
So
The same happens with that.
if we think about what best promotes our own survival, and on top of that, I guess uh, our own happiness on top of that, because like there's always survive better. There's survive, and then there's like layers of survival. So if we think about what best promotes those higher layers of survival for us, we can start to apply rules of how people ought to act, across the board. So we can judge other people's actions according to that principle. Does that make sense?
Pretty much it.
Um, so now that we've sort of like pinpointed what your base value is, which is basically survival, um, then we can now use that, or you can use that now, to help make better moral decisions for yourself, but also to judge other people's moral decisions in government, in relationships, and to understand how those things work. And you can even do that between groups. Um, and if because a lot of things that we do, um, I don't want. I'm trying not to impress too much about what I think about what you believe. I more want to hear about like your journey. So, um, has it ever really occurred to you that that was your primary um, uh, value?
I always thought survival was an important part, but not necessarily the origin of why I live in morality and stuff like that. It
Uh
was
huh.
more in this discussion that I discovered that yeah, we want to live, we want to be happy in our lives in the time that we have here, and it's easier to do that if we do certain things, ignore certain things, and help in certain things. Yeah, I think there is a line about morality. There is a point of immorality.
Okay.
Is
And
that that?
I think you already believed that before this conversation. I think we just had to dig a little bit to get to it.
I'm afraid of dying. I want to be happy in my life.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
it makes sense. I've
And
always known that, but I never thought of it as surviving specifically as the root of immorality. Yeah, it makes sense.
um, and honestly, I believe it or not, that I actually share that that belief that the root of human morality is based in survival.
Because we are alive, we don't know what happened next, and not enjoy it. Be good with others.
Um, yeah, and the you can just kind of like apply that across the board and watch. You know, we've been learning the process of morality for thousands and thousands of years. Um, that's why we don't do some of the things that we used to do, um, because we've understood rationally with our minds that they are not good things to do. They don't promote the kind of world where we would where it would be easier for us to survive. Cool. Well, I was not anticipating you to have that value. It's actually pretty interesting.
Oh, you don't know until you talk about it.
Oh yeah, that's pretty that's crazy. So yeah, we 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 share a similar base value for the existence of human morality. Which is why I started smiling when you started talking about it, because I was like, oh, I see where this is going. Um, yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, um, different people are gonna believe different things, and you know, they can believe that there's no such thing as morality, but when someone is interacting with them, they appeal to that sense of morality if someone wrongs them. Because as humans, we understand on some level that there's a such thing as right and wrong, and it has to do with what we're talking about, this base principle of I want to survive. Cool. Well, that
Sorry,
was really awesome.
my connection is getting choppy right now.
No, you're fine. So yeah, thank you very much for like going through this process. The really the main goal here is just to try to like dig down to people's base values, about morality, and to see where they draw their sense of morality from. And we've effectively done that. We actually did it really, really fast um, compared to the last interview I did. So that was, you did a good job.
Thank you.
So yeah, do you have anything about to say about morality before we finish this up here?
Morality is still subjective as long as you are alive for most people. Most people don't care about certain things because it doesn't affect them. And it's in the
Mm,
moment in which it affects them that it becomes important. Most straight people don't care if they're gay or not because they're straight. It
yeah,
doesn't affect them. The idea, they are sure of what they are. When there's a doubt, they start to care, they start to search for it. And with morality, the same happens. We don't search for a specific value until it is important to us. We don't search for a specific level or a specific threshold that I was talking at the beginning,
yeah,
and we find out what's important. I want to
yeah,
live, and I want the people that I love to live. I don't, and I know that the people outside, every stranger can be someone. It's a 50-50. There can be someone that I like or someone that I hate or someone that I don't care, a perfect zero. That goes to my thought of, hey, I want them to keep going, and also the fact that it's simply easier. A person cannot be an engineer, a doctor, and an astronaut at the same time simply because they are not made to do that.
okay,
It's simply, some of us want to do art, some of us want to do fitness, like you or Jordan.
yeah. There's
Someone,
definitely individual desires that exist.
yeah, and inside those individual desires, there are the parts of us that we can't simply do, whether it be because a physical reason like an illness, or for example, we don't have a leg or something like that, or because it will be easier for someone else better than me to do
Yeah.
it. I can
So
cook.
with you talking about all of this from the beginning, I think I better understand your stacks of paper. Um, Basically, those stacks of paper are the variables that exist from person to person and group to group that have to be taken into account when trying to figure out what is the most moral decision based on the principle of the best survival.
Survival and happiness
Yeah.
overall, yeah.
So those
And
stacks of paper, those layers, are basically just bits of the equation that have to be worked out to determine what the right thing to do is.
the right thing is, what the wrong thing is, or simply to what point we think this is correct or incorrect. Sometimes it simply is one of the two. We have to measure how much it is.
Yeah.
Again, if we go back to murder, someone kills another person. That person that they killed, for example, someone that assaulted their family, daughter, or a stalker that was putting them in danger all the time.
Yeah, there are
We
things that you're taking into account to determine whether or not there was the more right or more wrong status of that action.
can grab a page on the bottom of the stack, or you can go to the top. Between we have an infinite amount of things. We can always define them. We can always see them after we get the rest of the information. After we have the full picture.
Interesting. I think I'm going to think about the stacks of paper thing a little bit more. I think I like that as a illustration.
There's one thing more about the stacks of paper. This is something that I in a lot of the times, we don't apply our morals or roles the same way to us than to others.
Wait, say that
Sometimes
again?
we believe don't apply the same principles. We apply the same principles, but in a different way to others compared to us.
Okay.
For example, I cheated on a test in school.
Yes.
Don't believe it was wrong because I don't know that the teacher was an asshole.
Okay.
If I see someone else doing it, like for example the guy that has only tens and nines for the first time, I think, wow, that's wrong. I'm not applying the same way I'm seeing myself. And maybe they also think that the teacher is screwed up. You need to do this to pass.
Gotcha.
I think I'm entitled to do it because I believe the teacher is like that, but I don't believe you're entitled to do it because you're the top.
Okay. Gotcha. So right now, what you're doing is you're making a value claim. You're making a judgment, um, and you have to then use the moral principle that you've established to prove that what you've just said is actually the case. You said that you are entitled to do it because of something. The other person is not entitled to do it because of something. What are those things, and why does that line up with your base value?
Emotions is one of them. The perception, because this is how I feel, this is how I think. I'm angry about this, and because I'm angry, this is wrong. For example,
Sure.
that's the most caveman way of thinking about it.
Now,
I
do we want to make moral claims on emotion, or do we want to try to make moral claims based on you know rational ways of operating that have to do with what we have already established is our base value, because emotions are not necessarily rational. It can point us in the direction of, you know what, I really didn't like what that person did. It made me angry. And you may want to act on that anger, but that anger may not be related to your base value, or what you do with that anger may not relate to your base value. It may be in counter to your base value. So you may actually think that it is wrong to kill someone, but you do it because you're very, very angry. And then afterwards you realize my emotions took control of me and I was not acting rationally, which is to say, according to my base principle.
I That's right, because your emotions should not be the partake of most of your decisions. Your emotions are always going to be a part of your decisions because that's simply how we are. Even in
Yeah,
our base value, we survive because we want to be happy in our lives, because we simply are afraid of dying, or because simply we enjoy the ride. We have joy, we have happiness, sadness, all of that, and the emotion will always affect our decision whenever we see our moral values. Prudent needs something that it goes against them or that it goes or becomes too irrational. You said it will always affect it. Like for
yeah,
example, again the test thing. My emotions about myself were affecting the way I saw I was doing, and I thought, well, I deserve to do this. That's how I feel, even if my moral values don't necessarily align with that. Then when
yeah,
I see another person do it, my emotions now are separated from that. Because again, my emotions are right now being directed towards me. Feeling angry. Me. I don't know what the other people they feel like. You know that I know that I'm angry and that's why I'm doing this. when you see another person, you sometimes see them with the most rational of ways of thinking inside your base value. That's when you judge them. Judge them. The result is different from judging yourself.
Yeah.
Same happens when you have a low self-esteem. Every single time, and I know that I should stop doing that, I say to myself, I hate myself. It's not right. There's no point in doing that. There's not an actual thing that shows me that I'm. There's no real reason why I would think that I'm a bad person in life. I don't think that I'm the best. I don't think that I'm necessarily a nice
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
could,
think you're starting to understand that that emotions are not they're not rational, and they can't be the necessarily the value, the thing that we draw our value claims from, because they're so fickle. They change so easily. Um,
yeah, your emotions are not your moral.
yeah,
Emotions are
exactly.
something can be resultant, the result, or um, simply the result of whatever action we take, or whatever thing happens to us, not our values affect them because they are all a part of us, all a part of our decision making, or
Yeah.
of our instincts, and all of that. That we always need to, whenever we want to take it, for example, I like to play guitar.
Uh huh.
I like to do that.
And I would
It's
probably
getting
say
disconnected.
that. Hello, can you hear me?
I can still hear you a bit, but connection is going low.
Okay, I
Okay,
hear you
getting
fine.
higher. Okay, yeah, I can hear you. I can see you, but my connection is not the best right now.
So you
Uh,
like to play
Again,
guitar?
yes, that's what I like. Is it a part of my values of my morale? No, it's something that I just do.
Nope. That's
Is
what's
it wrong?
you would call that amoral, not immoral. It is amoral, something that does not have a moral value.
It's immoral. What I was saying, I was trying to say that it's not necessarily a part of my values in life. It's just something that I let my emotions take over me because I enjoy it. It makes me happy.
Yeah, and so there's nothing wrong with that. Um, and so there's plenty of things that we do that are inclinations that are not, they're not moral, or immoral. They just are. Um, but that's why we establish our values, so that we can look at our actions and judge whether or not what we're doing is moral or immoral. Um, because if we never think about it,
At the end,
hello.
no, go on. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
if we never think about whether or not something is moral or immoral, or the reasons that we believe that something is moral or immoral, then everything is on the same level as your emotions. You do something because you're angry, you do something because you're sad, you do something because you're happy, and those are the reasons that you function, and you don't really think about, um, you're not functioning rationally.
It's,
And so we've got to be able to
again,
separate. We've got to be able to
separate
separate
our emotions
those.
from our actions. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
because at the end of the day, but always emotions are not a part of it, but how do I put it? Uh, they are a part of the equations of any decision that we take. A part of the equation of what morality is,
Sure.
a part of the equation of any decision that we take.
I would agree with
And
that. I
because
think I think they're part of it.
morality is also part of that equation. I'm not going to buy something like a Ouija because morally for me that's not right. I don't like the idea of something like a Ouija. What is it? Do you call it in English?
I'm
In
not sure.
English,
I'm not
speaking
sure what
board,
your. It's a what?
board with a lot of letters that people use to
Oh, a Ouija
talk
board.
with ghosts.
A Ouija board. Yeah.
I was I was saying the word in Spanish. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy it because morally I don't think it's right, and my emotions tell me no, fuck that.
Well, you know, but at the same time, it's like, are you able to make a value claim that somebody else ought not do it? Probably not.
Our emotions are involved is just either our own personal benefit or because we are starting to act on that emotion only, entitled to that emotion, while we going outside of own morals.
Yeah.
Again, if I'm really, really angry and I act on that anger, I'm not acting on the rules that I've self-imposed myself and that society as a whole has put in itself. I'm only acting on on this irrational feeling, going outside my moral, going outside the rules, so to speak.
Okay. Cool. Um, I think this is really cool because I think we started in a place where you didn't think necessarily that there were any such thing as a like morals, and then you ended in a place where you realize where you actually do have a value system that you appeal to make moral decisions, even in moral judgments. So I think that's pretty cool. That's one of the reasons that we're doing this series, just so that people can understand their own thoughts and beliefs and whatnot.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's.
it's an interesting way of.
Say again.
It's really interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it was
So
really interesting.
I encourage you to keep thinking about things. Read. Just uh, don't stop here. Uh, we must examine ourselves in order to be better people. But that's pretty much all that we are going to do for this episode. It was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for coming on today. I hope you had fun.
I'm
Um,
losing the connection. I can
oh no,
barely hear you.
I was
I
just
hear
saying
you that you're finished.
I hope you had fun. Um, and to everybody who was watching this, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your comments in the description. And until next time, guys, good luck and train hard.